By 1992, after having relocated to Southern California, I was in possession of the 1956 Rodan and my brother's Mothra larva, as well as the Baragon and Angulus from the Godzilla collection series from Bandai, delivered direct from Japan from Mark Gilson, a nefarious force of nature. My brother also got a package from Mark that contained these two characters, sorely needed villains to go with my Monster Island collection, Megalon and Gigan. We're going to examine these two in this chapter of Back in the 90s, the Godzilla collection series. Check it out. As detailed in the past two parts of this series, we learned that Bandai had put out a series of 8-inch monsters based on classic Godzilla characters. I had started to become aware and was beginning my pursuit to collect them all. Megalon and Gigan, two characters that have always been kind of paired together due to their goofy nature and the movies they're associated with, arrived in my brother's box. These guys right here display kind of the downside to some of the Bandai collection back then, mostly with Gigan here, whose proportions are very wonky. Certainly something that you didn't see often in this line, but however, this is one of those that stands out as an eyesore. Megalon, on the other hand, is pretty decent in its own right, and I would say that it's almost on the same tier as its movie monster series counterpart. Me and my brother were both happy that we actually had a villain set of kaiju to go, since I was already building up the Monster Island cast. So this is very exciting, and we're going to take a look at these two figures in these review today. Now, before I get started, I just wanted to thank again Mark Gilson for providing us with these figures. These two I've inherited from my brother over time, so they are actually now part of my collection. So we'll start this review with Gigan, the worst of the bunch. While Baragon, Rodan, Mothra larva, and Angulus are arguably some of the more stellar entries in the Godzilla collection of that era, Gigan, in my opinion, is one of the worst. Here, I said it. It kind of sucks. I'll start with the colors, but trust me, this isn't the worst aspect. Cast in a really dark greenish black. I mean, it might as well be black. I can't tell here, but it's not even close to the intergalactic Dino Bird's on-screen look. Gigan always displayed a muted grass green hide, and even if that was implemented here, not sure how much that would help. You may find me hypocritical for my criticism, being that Baragon, a figure I verbally made love to, is not color accurate as well. The exception here is that the miscolor plays off all of the other failings. What Bandai does get right is the silver used on the beak mandibles and the head hooks, his trademark rotary cutter, sickle arms, and deformed hook feet. A bright red for his visor is fine, as it should be. His scales are painted in a nice deep metallic gold copper hue. The gold on the movie costume is used on various areas with a nice uniformity. Here it gets cut off on the side of his torso, inexplicably. His mini wing sails are only given an edge spray, and other scaly proportions are either skipped or painted with silver. In particular, his spine down to his tail is one long silver spray. Perplexing. I was just getting through appreciating the wild choices and sprays on these figures, but here, it doesn't hit at all. The biggest offense is not the colors, but the overall sculpt. Gigan appears to have been on Ozempic, which doesn't help the whole Black Chicken Association from TV Guide. His legs are skinny, like his muscles have atrophy, and they end in odd little super deformed hook flats. His torso is not so pot-bellied, and his neck looks truncated, not helped by the creased bulges on the backside suggesting that. His overall head just looks like a hamburger face-on. Gigan's beak is also odd in shape, made weirder framed by his mandibles. The worst part is when looking at Gigan's back, his trademark webbed sails now look like Dimetrodon's back membranes. Here, he sports only two of the three, wherein, if he was accurate, he would have had one more down the middle between them. Instead, we get a continuation from his head spikes traveling down to his tail tip, graced by that odd silver spray. It is as if someone had sculpted this figure from memory of what they remember Gigan looked like. Placing the rotten cherry on top, articulation is there. You can rotate his arms a full 360 with ease. And the same can be for those skinny chicken legs. That's really pretty much all you get from Gigan. Megalon fares way better here than Gigan. Where the Space Hunter M Kaiju is skinny and made of soft vinyl, Megalon feels solid and chunky. I would assume, if you saw my review for the Movie Monster Series version, that already you'd think my perception of this vinyl is going to be low. Overall, he is the better of the two, but that's not really winning any awards at the same time. It has more to do with the era in which this was produced and the technology made available to do so, as compared to what is applied today. The base vinyl is a dark forest green, not as dark as Gigan, who should have been lighter, but dark just the same. Silver adorns the head horn, the mandibles, his drill bits, and toes. A warm gold spray is used on the collar details and down the center of the torso. A slightly cooler gold is applied to his eyes and the pattern on his wing carapace. That sums up the colors for this rendition. Sculpt is fairly decent. Yes, when viewed, you know who this kaiju is, as all the callouts are there. And unlike his future Movie Monster Series take, this one lacks the depressed nature, despite being the same exact standard pose. A grainy, coarse texture encompasses his head sculpt, mainly on the backside, while his bulbous eyes, patterned with a golf ball-like texture, are nicely realized, all framed in a layered facial detail. The antennae here are little nubs, nothing like his screen costume, which featured them protruding forth and hanging downward. His double mandibles are fairly defined, and he, like his modern counterpart, has that tiny circular gem on his forehead, but not painted. The horn atop his head has a nice shorn and chiseled surface, topped off with his unique star-like crown. The arms and legs have those layered platelets like some insectoid chainmail. The arms end with this massive half-drilled bits with very geometric sculpts, lending them to a more mechanical feel. The feet are stumpy and end with 2 toe claws. The main torso is segmented but divided by a long singular row distinguished itself from the rest with a unique sculpted pattern. The sides of his body feature the carved striping that are usually orange on the screen, but are left blank here. Turning him around, the big bold carapace is smooth and shiny, with the striped patterns carved into them for painting designation. Finally, the stubby tail peeking out from beneath the shell is curved and lined with a single row of shark fin-like spikes. Articulation is similar to Gigan. Arms rotate 360, as do both legs. However, Megalon does get full head rotation, so he's kind of a level up from there. You will not find a more contrast in the character sculpt between the Godzilla collection and the Movie Monster Series than these two. Well, maybe Hedorah too, but that's for another video. But look at the difference. The Movie Monster Series version not only gets the colors right, but the proportions as well. The greens are much more in line with Gigan's plated skin, and he retains his third back sail membrane. The feet are also better realized here as well. The Godzilla collection Gigan is fairly barrel-chested and lacks any of the dinosaurian posture. The Movie Monster Series capitalizes on that, bringing us a decent recreation of what we see on screen, even if it is somewhat vanilla in execution. Appreciate the Godzilla collection for what came before and how much it helps you appreciate the modern takes even more. Megalon and his smaller Movie Monster Series are much more similar in comparison, not much to contrast, with the exception of color details. The Godzilla collection is painted in sprays over areas that said colors would inhabit on the suit, save for the carapace, where the patterns are more dialed in. Copper sternum spray and collar are unique, and silvers and golds hit their marks good. One thing to note is the texture surfaces of the classic 90s rendition over the smaller modern release. Example, the Godzilla collection Megalon's noggin is covered with a bumpy surface, while the Movie Monster Series retains a smoother dome. In fact, the older vinyl feels very porous all over, and the modern one cleans up a bit, with its more defined features retained. In my review for that figure, I lamented the pose, or lack thereof, was a retread of his 90s cousin. not really doing anything new. However, with the Godzilla collection, it is forgiven again. Again, as Bandai wasn't attempting to produce screen grab versions of their monsters, and the basic idea of said kaiju was conveyed. Having this duo back in '92 was amazing, mostly due to the fact that the idea of even owning a toy of some of Godzilla's most eccentric foes was hard to imagine. In a world where a bendy Godzilla, 2 jumbo Mashinder-style kaiju, and maybe some plastic model kits would be all we get from the world of Toho's kaiju, these were special. Time, of course, has changed to the output in terms of availability and variety of the monsters that inhabit Godzilla's world, so looking back is a journey of fondness and folly. By spoiled collector's standpoint, you either still adore these for the memories they recall, or look upon them with a level of disdain. Kind of sit in the middle, but I definitely lean towards disdain with Gigan. I mean, oh no, not you again. I already told you, this series of videos is exempt from your violence. You sucker punched me in the snot locker, so stay the hell away. You're sorry? Well, I've never gotten a robot apology before. I'm actually touched my cold yet friendly-faced friend. Of course, I value your input. I wouldn't have asked you to insert your opinion on my channel if I didn't. Let me tell you what. I'll grant you a token of appreciation if you can do one thing for me. Consider it in exchange. I love it when a couple of reviews gets wrapped up nicely. Thank you for checking out my third part to Back to the 90s, the Godzilla Collection series of retro reviews. But don't check out just yet. I have a few more items to cover in part 4 and what will likely be the last part 5. Let me know if you own any of these vinyls. Do you like Gigan, Megalon? Do they hold a special nostalgic place in your world of Godzilla? Leave your comments down below. Please share this and subscribe. Thanks for watching.